Hello everyone, and welcome to another devlog video for Homegrown, the casual farming game I'm making using my own engine. And this week I'm going to be making a few more improvements to the UI, as well as doing a little bit of work on mod support. So, Happy New Year. It's the 3rd of January today, and this is the 3rd year of working on Homegrown now. I started it almost exactly 2 years ago. And yesterday I spent the whole day planning out what I'm going to be doing this year, and I'm hoping that I should be able to pretty much finish up the game this year and then aim for a release early next year. That's the plan. So this year there's going to be lots of work on gameplay and features and content, which should be exciting. But first up, I do just need to finish off that UI overhaul that I started at the end of last year. So that's what I'm going to be getting on with this week. So the first UI that I want to work on today is the Examine panel, which is this panel you can see popping up in the bottom right when you mouse over an entity. I'd actually like this panel to show above the entity in the world. So to do this, I first have to convert the entity's 3D world position into its 2D position on the screen so that I know where to show the UI. And I've just been testing that here with the sundial. You can see that this UI panel is now attached to the sundial and always follows its 3D position, even though it's just a 2D element on the screen. Next, I've been working in GIMP trying to come up with the design for the Examine panel, and this is what I've ended up with. It's fairly simple. You're probably thinking it only took me about 20 minutes or so. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I've been working on this for over half a day now. As I've said before, UI design is just not one of my fortes, but I think it's ended up looking fairly decent, so I'm going to get into the code now and start implementing. So this is where I'm at so far. You can mouse over any object in the world and the UI will pop up with the name of that object, and then obviously it's going to have more information about that object in it. I spent a lot of time this afternoon worrying about what should happen if the UI isn't completely on the screen like this. I overthought it. In the end I decided to look at how other games handle it, so I had to look in The Sims, and it turns out they don't handle it either. So then I felt better about leaving it like this, but also a bit silly that I'd spent so long worrying about it when I haven't even got the UI finished yet. So sometimes I just need to stick to the simple things and not overthink it too much. So it's the start of a nice fresh new day, and I'm going to try and be a bit more decisive today and hopefully make some decent progress. By the way, one thing I forgot to mention yesterday is I've actually got quite a lot of new equipment for making these devlog videos. A new microphone, new camera, and also I'm using Premiere Pro to edit the videos now instead of Camtasia. So I'm still getting used to all of the settings, especially on the camera. So if things sound or look a little bit different this week, that's why. I'm still calibrating. Anyway, time to get to work. So back to work on the Examine panel this morning. First up, I just added a little animation for when it appears and disappears, so that it's not quite as sudden. And then I was also doing a lot of thinking about how much information I actually need to show in the Examine panel, because I've always wanted the UI in the game to be as minimal as possible, and I think I was going in the slightly wrong direction. So I made another draft for how the UI panel, the Examine panel could look for some objects if I just show the minimal amount of information, and I think that would be enough for certain objects. So I started implementing that, and I've made it possible to show the Examine UI without the name at the top, but I've left it flexible. I've left it as an option so I can choose on a per object basis whether the name is shown or not, because I think for some objects like the plants it's actually quite useful to see their name. So next today I've been working on where the information in the Examine panel is going to come from. So firstly I created a new entity component, the info component, which just holds the basic information, like the name of the entity, and then the rest of the information in the examine panel is going to come from the other components. So they do this by registering with the info component, and then that allows them to provide their own info panel, which will get shown in the examine UI. So I've only done this for the health component so far. So if I mouse over any other object, it just doesn't show anything yet. But if I mouse over something with a health component, like a plant, then you can see the health component provides this health info panel, which gets shown in the examine UI. So my plan now is to grab a quick lunch, go for a walk with Rufus, and then this afternoon I'm just going to work my way through all of the other entity components and implement the information panels for them. So I've been making good progress. I've got quite a lot of these info panels done, especially ones relating to the compost system. There was a lot to do there. So you can see some of them here. I'm really happy with how the fertilizer tags turned out. I think they look quite nice. And then for the compost heap, it shows all of the fertilizers that are in the compost, but in short form. So it just shows the icon and then the tier of the fertilizer. Hopefully that will be enough. But if it's not, I can always just add the full name. So yeah, this has all taken ages, by the way. It's multiple days later since the last time I filmed. It took so long because I first wanted to create like a framework in the code that would make it easier for me to build these info panels in the future. So it was really slow to get started, but now I can create them quite quickly. Today I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break from working on the UI to work on mod support instead, which is something I started doing a little bit over the Christmas break, and I'd like for the next version that I release on Patreon to have some basic mod support in it, so that people can start adding their own custom plants to the game if they'd like. I know it might be a little bit early to start thinking about modding, but I've never done any work with mods or mod support before, so I don't really know what I'm doing. So I thought it might be a good idea to start looking into it now, so that hopefully by the time of the actual release, I'll have a bit more experience with it. When I was working on the mod support at Christmas, I quite quickly realised that the game is not particularly mod friendly at the moment, so it's not very easy to add new content to the game without having to edit some of the stuff that's already in the game, which isn't great for mods, obviously. So for example, the text system, all of the text in the game came from a single language file, so if you ever wanted to add new content with new text, you'd have to edit that original language file. So that was the first thing that I changed. I made it possible for the mods to provide their own language file with additional text that could be used in the game. And this morning I'm just doing a similar thing for some of the other systems in the game, like the items and the entities. So let me show you how the mod support is going so far. I do actually have a mod that I can test this on. A Patreon supporter made this, and currently support is really rudimentary. The mods can only provide text for the game, items, and entities. So they can't provide their own code yet. That will be the next thing that I implement. But I've got this mod here. This has got a couple of new plants for the game, the strawberry and the pumpkin. So I can now just put this mod into the game files, into the mods folder, and that should automatically work. So if I now launch the game, it will automatically load the mod files as well. So if I go into the town area and we go to the shop, you can see there are now a couple of extra seeds for sale, the pumpkin and the strawberry seeds, and they can then be grown in the world and harvested like normal. Just been doing a quick bit of work on the model converter tool, which is what I use to convert from OBJ files to the model file format that my game uses, which is just a bit more compressed and all of the data has been pre-processed, so it's all ready to quickly load up to OpenGL. And I want to release this tool to the Patreon supporters so that they can also convert the models that they've exported from Blender. but at the moment it's very, very not user-friendly. I've been the only one using it so far. Obviously it's all text-based and in the console, and it's going to stay like that, but I'm just trying to make it a little bit nicer to use. So back to work on the UI today, and before I release the next version there's just one more of these examine panels that I'd like to redo, which is the health panel for the plants, because this is still the old one at the moment, so I need to update the style. And then I also think there's just a bit too much going on in here. It's a bit overcomplicated, so I'm going to have a think about how I could redesign that and simplify it a bit. So I've redesigned the main health bar a bit so that it fits in better with the style, and I've got rid of all of those environment factor bars. There was one for every factor affecting the plant, but I realized that the only time that I really paid attention to them was if there was an issue with the plant, they would tell me what that issue is. So I thought I'd try and come up with a design that's a bit more direct. Instead of all the little bars, if there's a problem with the plant, it just straight up tells you what that problem is, and once you've fixed the issue, the warning messages go away. So it's a bit simpler, I think, a bit more to the point, and I'll be implementing that after lunch. So the new health panel's done. Let me show you it in action. So this beetroot's about to run out of water, and when it gets so dry that it starts affecting its health, then it will tell you, this little warning message will pop up and tell you that it's too dry. So if I then go ahead and water it and fix the issue, then that warning message goes away and it just shows the health bar. I've also added 2 tiers of severity for the issues. So the red ones are ones that are a bit more severe and affecting the plant's health more. And if a plant has multiple issues, then it orders them by severity so that you know which ones to sort out first. So I'm really happy with that. I think it makes a lot more sense, especially as I was planning to add even more environmental factors in the future. That would have been a lot of health bars. So another day finished. It's been a productive one today. I've just uploaded the latest version of the game to Patreon. I also uploaded the model converter tool, and I'm almost finished writing a long post explaining how you can get started with making custom plants and mods for the game. So lots of stuff crossed off the to-do list, and all I've got left to do this week now is to edit this video. So that's going to be it for this week. Really happy with how the UI is coming along. Even though it's a bit of a struggle at times, I feel like it's definitely all moving in the right direction. So very happy with that, and just in general I'm really excited about how the game's going, really enjoying it at the moment, and looking forward to getting back to the gameplay later this year as well. And yeah, slowly but surely getting closer to finishing this game, but still quite a while to go yet. Before I finish, I want to say a big thank you to the top Patreon supporters from last month, who were Daniel Serlov, Ingo Moore, Taniel, Helson Taveras, Frederick Anfinson, Marais, Shadeless Fox, Kimo Tamio, Coda the Tyler, Ross from 2 Minute Tabletop, Nikat Asgazada, Zanil Ambakar, Atomic Code, Walden Yan, Me the Pig, Chris Naismith, Alan Lance, Dieter Reinert, Harry Chung, John Needham, Christoph Herpo, Adam Farkas, Hagen Vingard, Matthew Connaughton, Andrew Witt, Marek Mikolajczyk, Sean McCrory, Caffeine Coda, Timothy Gibbons, Alexander Chavez, and Neil Blakey Milner. So a massive thank you to you guys, and of course to everyone else supporting me over on Patreon. For this week, that is going to be it. So thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you all again next time.